going to make a simple vegetable soup, so here are the ingredients that I'll be using. Alright, so I husked my 4 cups of corn and I'm just going to put them in a pot of cold water. And they are just going to stay in here until the water is boiling. And once it's boiling, it is all done. So now I just washed my red potatoes. I have about 20 little ones in here. And I'm just going to slice them like this. You can cut them in any shape as long as it's bite-sized. So now I have this leek and I'm just going to chop it up. So first I'm gonna cut off this green part because we won't really be working with that, or the roots. And then I'm going to slice it in half down the center. And now that I have it in half, we can just cut it into little slices like this. Okay, now we are just cutting up this part of the leek in little slices. Just thinly slicing 2 large carrots. Although the water is boiling, we know that the corn is done. So I'm going to turn that off and take the corn out. I have the red potatoes in here and I'm going to add our leeks and carrots. And I'm just going to add in some olive oil and let this saute for a few minutes. I'm just going to add a little bit of vegetable broth in here, just a splash so that it can steam the potatoes a little bit. I'm just taking the corn off these cobs right now with a knife. Do this carefully, or you can get canned corn if you would like to not cut it off. So about after 7 minutes of this on medium heat, the potatoes, carrots, and leeks are all softened and it is ready for me to add all of the broth. So I'm gonna finish the first container of broth and then add a second. I'm taking both of the cans of navy beans and just putting them in a colander to strain them. And I'm just gonna rinse it off with water. So I'm just going to put the navy beans into the broth. And also my 2 cans of diced tomatoes, and these also have green pepper, celery, and onion. You can use whichever type you like. It's a little full. All right, I had to move the soup from this large pot to a huge one, so I'd recommend starting with that if you're making the same quantity as me. And now I'm going to add in the corn. And I got this bag of kale greens from our local grocery store. If you can't find a bag of already washed and cut up kale greens, then you can just cut it up yourself and scrub it real nicely. And I just added about 2 handfuls of kale. Now I'm just stirring it up with a wooden spoon, trying to get everything into the broth so it can all cook up. So I'm just turning up the heat to about medium high, and I'm gonna leave it here until the soup is on the verge of boiling. And then once it gets to that point, I'm going to turn it on low heat and let it simmer for about 15 minutes so that the rest of the vegetables can cook. Season the soup. I'm going to put in some dill weed, and you can use fresh dill as well, but for the convenience of this recipe, we are just using the spice and a little bit of oregano. This is ground up, so we'll just give the soup a little more flavor. And then some salt. And I'm going to crack some pepper into it. So these are just whole peppercorns that I'm cracking, but you could use regular ground pepper. Okay, so the soup is all ready to be served, and I would just ladle it into a bowl. And the nice thing about this soup is that there's so much of it, so you can eat it throughout the week, or you can even freeze some and it still tastes great a month later.
The common concern that people have with the plant-based diet is that the plant-based diet does not supply the amount of protein that a human needs, and this is not the case actually with this soup, because this soup has navy beans in it. It actually supplies all the protein that a person needs in this meal for a healthy lifestyle. And if you were to put in something like a pound of chicken into this soup for protein, it would actually increase the amount of water that is used to produce all the ingredients for this soup by an additional 500 or more gallons. So by keeping the chicken out of the soup, you actually are still receiving all the protein that you need, as well as you're helping the environment. So I hope that that's some food for thought, and I hope you all enjoy.